We often think of history as this story that's already been written, like it's all set in stone. But what if a single discovery could come along and just smash that stone to pieces, forcing us to rethink an entire chapter of the past?
Well, that's not just a what if. It's exactly what happened just a few years ago. One single find, buried deep in the mud of a modern city, had the power to bring a forgotten king back to life and completely upend what we thought we knew about Egyptian history.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's March 2017 in a working-class neighborhood in Cairo. A team of archaeologists is wrapping up a 5-year dig. They're at a temple site built by the one and only Ramses the Great. The project is basically over. They're packing things up, and then they hear it. A shovel hits something hard.
And that was the moment everything changed. A big stone. I mean, it doesn't sound like much, right? But as the team started clearing away all the mud and groundwater, they quickly realized this was no ordinary rock, not even close.
Because it wasn't just a big stone. First, they uncovered a massive chest. Then, this giant torso starts appearing from the muck. And just minutes later, a colossal head, buried completely upside down. The team knew it instantly. This was the find of a lifetime.
And the clues just kept coming. The size alone was absolutely staggering, but then there was the material, quartzite. This is one of the hardest, most prized stones in all of ancient Egypt. And the carving? Exquisite. Every single detail just screamed that this monument was for an incredibly important, incredibly powerful pharaoh.
So you can imagine what's going through their minds. This was the million-dollar question. Here they are, looking at this magnificent but totally faceless statue. All the evidence is pointing to a legendary king, but who was it?
And then, as they cleared away a little more mud, they saw it. The key. The answer to the entire mystery. A series of 4 hieroglyphs right there on the statue's back pillar. And the quality of this writing? It was just breathtaking. I mean, that quote just says it all, doesn't it? To carve into rock this hard, with that kind of precision, it's like performing microsurgery with a chisel. Only a pharaoh with absolutely vast resources could have commanded artisans this good. This had to be one of the greats.
So think about it. You're standing in the ruins of a temple built by Ramses the Great. You're looking at a statue with this kind of scale, this kind of quality. There was really only one name that all the experts were expecting to read.
But the inscription didn't say Ramses. To their absolute shock, the hieroglyphs spelled out a name that only expert Egyptologists would even recognize, Samtech I. This was a total curveball, a name that made absolutely no sense.
So who on earth was Samtech I? Well, the history books always described him as a ruler from Egypt's later period, long after the glory days were over. Yeah, he reigned for a long time, 54 years, but this was supposed to be a time when Egypt was in decline, a shadow of its former powerful self.
And there's the puzzle, right? This discovery creates this massive contradiction. The official history said pharaohs from this era just didn't have the money or the power to build statues like this. And yet, here was the proof, staring right at them from the mud.
This one object just flips the entire script. The old belief was that Egypt was weak, but this statue proves it had the wealth for huge projects. Historians saw Samtech as some minor forgotten king, but this monument marks him as a pharaoh of immense importance. It shows that instead of lacking resources, he commanded incredible wealth and the best craftsmen in the land.
It's really that simple. This single archaeological find forces a complete reevaluation of an entire period of history. A forgotten pharaoh literally steps out of the shadows, and our whole understanding of the past has to be redrawn. So what that team stumbled upon wasn't just some ancient masterpiece. It was a doorway into a lost chapter of Egyptian history, a period that was so much richer and more powerful than anyone had ever imagined. The real story of Samtech I is really just getting started.
And that leaves us with this one last incredible thought. If a supposedly minor king could be responsible for something this monumental, well, it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other forgotten figures are out there, buried in the dust, just waiting for their real stories to finally be told?